And we're live. Welcome to a special edition of Eight Questions with. I'm your host, Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View. And this is our rescheduled interview with Laura Dove from Five Little Doves. Uh, she was a blogger, a very influencer from Great Britain. She'll be with us in about 15 minutes. And yeah, thanks for coming by. Feel free to hit the thumbs up and come in and say hello. Um, So Laura Dove and I have met a long time ago. We met through a Facebook group, um, a blogger supporting bloggers group on Facebook, and we've just become friends ever since then. Um, she's an extraordinarily gifted writer, blogger, and a terrific mom, wife. Um, one of my favorite people. I mean, it's so hard her attention, her she's so driven as far as her blog goes, her family, so dedicated to them. Plus, her blog is so popular. It's one of the most popular blogs in Great Britain. It's won many awards. Plus, she's always being asked to talk about, landmarks. Hey, TJ. Yes, you are. Um, Yeah, she's extraordinary. And she's also a member of my tribe. She too has experienced deep loss. She lost a son, and so it's one of those weird things where you have something in common with, and we talk about it, we share it, and but it doesn't define her. It doesn't. I have to admit, I have to admire her a lot more than myself in that respect. I mean, she handles it with a lot of grace and love, and I have so much respect for her. I love her family. Her family's really sweet. She's got maybe the world's best husband and Gaz. um like that guy's he's really cool. I hope we meet him today, to tell you the truth. I'd like to say hi to him, and because he's one of those manly men that you just want to shake a hand with and sit there and say, you know you're an amazing husband. Um, he supports Laura in everything. Their family's just beautiful together. Um, yeah, like I said, one of my favorite people. And we'll be talking about her blog today and how she got started and the growth of it, which is insanely. It's gone to where it's gone to where you could talk, once in a while you can just sit and have a conversation, but her blog is so blown up now that her attention and her time is so precious. Everybody wants a piece of Laura Dove. They want her to talk about her products, test them out, talk about them. It's sitting around trips. She's been all over Europe, uh, and blogged about it. So it's really cool to see that. Most bloggers, as we know, the traditional blogging sphere, it's changed so much. You know, Now everybody's trying to do a podcast, and quite honestly, no one lasts on doing a podcast. A lot of these podcasts come and go in the middle of the night. They crank out 10, 20 episodes and they get bored and then they move on. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do a podcast. Um, I feel pretty lucky. I think I think our little horror group here, um, Super Slash Bros, Coast to Coast, House of Horrors, the Midnight Hour. I think we're doing great. We've actually keep going. We're not stopping. We keep on plugging it out, um, and that's hard. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to keep churning a show out. Even when you don't necessarily feel like it, but you still got to churn it out. Um, Now that's what, and we're talking about groups here. We're talking like groups. There's five of us and there's five of us in let's see, four of us in the midnight hour. There's six in the coast to coast. There's two in House of Horrors and 4 in Super Slash Bros. Laura is just one. She's just old-fashioned traditional blogger. She writes her blog, she pushes her blog, she publicizes it, and she runs it, and she runs and maintains a household. Like I said, just nothing but mass respect. Um, so I was waiting for this interview. Actually, it was one of those ones. I have a little list of people I want to interview, and I just put her down a long time ago, like made my first list. And I did that because I didn't do it right away because I wanted to grow my channel here. Um, I've gotten up to 427. Back when I first started the series, I was, not that far. I was like, I think it's in the low 200s, late 190s, maybe a little higher. I'm not really sure, but now I feel my channel's getting it's growing a little bit. Plus, the receptions to the shows are really improving, and now I feel like when I interview someone like a Laura Dove, I can give back to them. Like I can feel like I can actually reach some other people that may not know who she is. Um, wow. Oh, that's right. That's right. Her show on Friday nights. It's 9 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry I had to leave that, TJ. Unfortunately, I had to bounce to. We had to do a football chat. I did not know. I was not aware of your show you know until then. I know Night Watch also did a show that I wanted to see live, and I didn't know that until I was committed to the football show. And then we just end up going on a roll up with the football show. But I will definitely come by and watch the replay of that. I'm sure you and Katie tore it up. um, I was there for like 10 minutes. I know it's not a lot. I was there for that, but I'm going to go back and watch it on a replay, um, for sure. Uh, yeah, I really enjoyed everybody rolling out there. Yeah, you know what? I did pop in. I did pop in, but we had we had the football show. I had made a commitment to, and this as you came on, and when I was getting involved in your show, the Night Watch Zone popped up with their show, and I was like, I did not, of course, Friday night, I should have known better, right? All these great shows were happening, and I'll just have to go back and listen to it on replay. Um, so um, the blogging group that I was in was actually guess I still am in it, technically speaking, though I have not shared anything in there in forever and a day. Um, there are some really sensational people in there. I don't know. I need to start going back there and saying hi because I really like them quite a bit. Um, the blogging group that I met Laura in, also met some really nice people. Bloggers supporting bloggers is what it's called. It's a UK group. Oh, that's not it. Uh, I'm sure that what, the blogging UK or something like that. Bloggers helping each other. I think that's what it is. Maybe that's it. Yes, bloggers helping each other. That's the UK. That's the UK group that I first met Laura Dove in. Um, it's it's a pretty cool group. I'm not, like I said, I'm not pushed anything in there for quite a while. Pretty much since I got once my blog rolled up there. Um, but that's a really good group. I was like one of the few guys in the group. Most of the time, it's all women, and they're all pretty much from the UK. Um, they're very cute, though. I really liked a lot of them. There's a lot of them in there. I really enjoyed their writing. Rebecca Smith and Sarah Bailey. some of definitely my favorite people to read. Um, uh, I'll have to put the list of that. I'll put the link to that in the chat. Well, no, I can't because it's private. You guys won't be able to get into it. But shoot. Well, I'm going to be posting Laura's channel here. So yeah, thanks, DJ. Um, yeah, this interview was actually scheduled on last Thursday. Um, but I had my flooding issues in my basement, so I had to lose that day. So I wanted to come back and do it on Saturday. Um, like I said, her time is precious, and I'm just, this is going to be one of those interviews I wanted to do now while I had a chance because it's coming into Christmas, Thanksgiving, Christmas season, and it's going to be really insane for a lot of people, um, and especially asking a full-time mom to come in and do a hour-long interview on a Saturday. It's like, um, and from the UK, and the UK, their time rolled back. So normally our 4 hour gap is now 5 hour gap is 4 hours. Um, and it will go. We will turn back our clocks tonight to regain that hour. That's right. Don't forget to turn back your clocks. Uh, okay, I'll mention some things that we got coming up. Um, let's see. Tomorrow night. Wow, I didn't even realize that. But tomorrow night on the midnight hour, we're doing comedy night. So I will be there for that. That'll be here on my channel. We're doing comedy night. We're going to be talking about our favorite comedies and comics on the midnight hour. We're taking a break from horror for just 1 week. I know 1 week, but we can still talk about horror comedy. That's open and that's open for discussion. So horror comedies, Three Stooges, anything that makes you laugh. That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow on the midnight hour. Tuesday, the 9th of November, we welcome actress Polly Shannon to the show. On the 10th, we welcome Irish actress Fran Winston. She'll be here at 2 p.m. At 10 p.m., we'll be talking to our good friend Cedric Gegel will be here. And on the 11th, we have Candice Corella will be here. Cedric, Polly, and Candice will be here at 8 p.m. Eastern time, normal starting time. The 16th, we'll see Ruth Hill come by. She's a personal assistant to actor Paul Green. She's also a very delightful lady. I really enjoy talking to Ruth. I like watching her videos, and I'm really fascinated to see what it's like to be a personal assistant to somebody. Like a star. It's going to be interesting to talk about. What do they have to do, and how do they go about doing it? So, and here is our guest. Ta-da!
Hi.
There you go. Welcome back. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, good. I was just bragging up on you earlier.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah. I was saying how we met in the blog group, bloggers helping each other.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I see you're still active in that group.
Yeah, I am. I think it's just habit. You kind of stay. I'm not part of many blogging groups. I just don't have the time these days, but I think that was probably the first one that I joined, so I try and stick around.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm still part of it. I haven't posted in there in forever and a day. Um, I tried to join some blogging groups to launch the blog, and it did help. It did help. Once I started doing film reviews, then that sort of became my main focus. Became my main traffic feeder. Most of the time, the traffic I got from the blogging group was basically, because they had to.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of want people to read your blogs because they enjoy it, don't you?
Right. Yeah, I got there's a few that just felt like they were just there because they had to, and the comments they left were just dry as toast.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed your comments, you and Sarah Bailey. Um, there's a few others that were
Yeah,
really
Sarah's still around. I see her in a few different groups.
good. Good. Uh, so when did you start your group? I mean, well, actually, I guess I should ask you first. Well, where were you? Let's see. I'm so nervous with you, Laura, because I know you and I have talked for years face to face. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up at, and what was your early years like?
So I grew up in Lancashire in the northwest of England. I still live in the same village that I grew up in. Um, I've kind of been and gone and came back. My kids actually go to the same primary school that I went to. Lewis went to the same high school that I went to. My parents still live in the same house I grew up in, like 2 minutes away. My husband is actually from the same village. He also went to the same school. So although we travel a lot and we try and see the world, we have stayed right here where we both grew up. Um, but I think that says a lot about my childhood in that I had an amazing childhood. I have an older brother, my mum and dad. We've not got a very big family, but it's a lovely family. And I wanted the same for my kids, which is probably why we never really moved away. Um, and I love that my children are getting the same childhood that I had in the same place, and yeah, it's lovely.
It must be not. Is it? Do they go outside and play all the time?
Yeah, and where we are in Lancashire, it's quite rural. There's like farms on like down the corner, and there's fields on the back. It's there's a lot of countryside. There's a lot of really nice outdoor places. Although in the north of England, we get all the bad weather, so we get all the rain, the cold, the wind. Um, but pros and cons. We can go down south for holidays, and we can get the nice weather.
Uh, yeah, I mean, has your town grown at all since you grew up in it? I mean, have you noticed
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
growing?
Where we are, like our village is it's kind of stayed the same. It's expanded a little bit. But the surrounding areas, we had a lot of like rural areas that were just fields and farms and countrysides, and they're slowly just being sold off for like housing. So we've got new estates popped up. We've got an entire new village down the road that has become like the size of a small town. All like that open space is slowly just going bit by bit, which is really sad.
Yeah, yeah. A little. It's always a little alarming to see that, isn't it?
Yeah, and in turn, our schools aren't expanding, so all our schools are now completely oversubscribed. It's really difficult to get the kids into the schools that we originally would want to. Um, the roads are getting really busy because there's too much traffic. There's not enough roads because like a lot of the roads are country lanes. They weren't built for traffic. Um, it's just the way of the world, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this the town I'm in now. You know, maybe about I've heard many people talk about how when they first got here, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, where I'm at now, it wasn't here. And it's
Yeah.
like when I first came to Michigan, it was just now being built, but it's built up now. It's crazy.
Yeah,
The
it's
traffic
the
when it
same
first got
everywhere.
here.
It's oh,
Yeah, they say change is good, but not always. And if it's not thought out, change can be good if it's thought out, and planned. But when it's not, it could be a little bit of a nightmare.
yeah.
Um,
But I also think we'll probably never leave. We'll we'll never move away because, we've got ties here.
sure. And you love your home.
Yeah, we do. We're actually just talking today. We're gonna get all our renovations done for next year. We've lived here now for 7 years. And when you move in somewhere, you've got all these plans and life gets in the way. So next year we are on a mission. We want to get everywhere done, and just enjoy it then.
Yeah, that's the thing too. My house is slowly, it needs a little TLC, and it's like with that wall happened on Thursday. There's a little hole in the basement, and the water just came in and just hit the floor, and it's just like holy crow. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm scheduled to have that fixed this week. But I agree. You want to take care of the house. You really love it. You love it there. You're comfortable there. It's a good base of operations because you guys travel everywhere.
Yeah, we're really lucky, and I think, um, yeah, in our spare time, that is what we like to do. Um,
Yeah.
it's weird because I would say I am a real like homebody. I love being at home. I love, just closing the door and it just being the six of us, and I really do enjoy that. But at the same time, we kind of are always here, there, and everywhere. Maybe that makes being at home more special when we are. Uh,
Sure. Um, I was mentioning, before you got here, I was mentioning how, it's one of the things you could tell by someone like how successful they are is the time they have. And I remember when you and I first started talking, we talked a lot all the time. But as your blog grew, you have really become like a blogging celebrity. I mean, I seen the growth of your website. It's phenomenal. You're very influential. How do you feel about that?
Um, do you know what? I really just don't see it in that way. So it's kind of funny if anyone would ever think that. Um, I still just think of myself as just a mum who, started writing, wanted to share our story, raise awareness. I love sharing my kids. I'm really proud, like any parent, I want to show pictures of the kids, and I still kind of think of it that way, and maybe that is why I've managed to, keep going. It's been 7 years now since I started my blog, and people have been so lovely, and we've had so many lovely opportunities, and maybe it's partly because I still view it that way, that, I'm still enjoying it. I don't see it as a chore, and it takes up a lot of time, like, there's no denying I work a lot, like, some weeks it's 70 hours, it is constant, and there's never, like, a cut off, and yet because I love it so much, I don't I don't complain about it, just keep going.
Now, did your blog come out of the did you write that after Joseph? Did you start it to deal with it?
Yeah, no, when I started my blog, so years ago, when I was pregnant with Lewis, actually, so we're talking like 18 years ago, I started a blog on a platform. It was before blogs were really a thing. It was like on a website, and you could create like a blog, and it was almost like a pregnancy diary kind of thing. But it was a similar thing to a blog. So I did that for gosh, about two years, all through my pregnancy with Lewis, and then when I got pregnant with Joseph, I carried it on, and I carried it on kind of as therapy after Joseph, um, and then that website closed, probably like 10 years or so ago, and everyone who'd followed my like pregnancy diary was like, "Oh, you really need to start a blog. Like, you should. We really miss reading about your life." So on like when I had these three, so I had a newborn, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 10-year-old. I was at home, I was going insane. I always say I was like knee deep in nappies. I was losing my own sanity. And I just thought in the evenings when they gone to bed, it's something for me. I started writing again. I started sharing a bit about our day, and that's kind of where it came from. It was just like a little hobby almost. And for the people who'd followed our original story, just as like this is what happened next kind of thing.
I know some people might take that exaggeration, about the losing the sanity. Laura's dead on right. That's exactly what it is. That's what I did to save my sanity. I wrote.
Yeah.
Um, you're not kidding. You're not exaggerating. It's powerful that way, isn't it?
It's so therapeutic. Like, I think even if you like, I tell people who don't have a blog, if you need to get something down, just write it down, even if no one reads it. Throw it in the bin if you have to, if you don't want anyone to read it, but just writing and like getting all the thoughts out in your head, putting them on paper, reading it back, making sense of it. It's just like the best therapy.
No, I totally agree with that. Um, so I mean, let's talk a little bit about this because this is, you and I call you a member of my tribe. You and I, we're tribe mates. We've been through a lot and come out on the other side. I mean, maybe by the skin of our whiskers, but we are
Yeah,
still here today, right?
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
um, so you started it your blog at before Joseph. So then after it happened, was there a particular moment where you decided to take? It must have been really hard to write about that, to be open with that, because it's
Yeah.
such a private thing. Like you said, you could write it and toss it, but to write it and share it, I mean, what was the response like the first time you actually shared that?
It was amazing. And you know what? Every single time I write a post about Joseph or just about baby loss in any kind of way, I always feel really nervous to press that post button. Even though, 7 years later, I've had an amazing response, I still feel nervous because I always think it's like exposing the pages of your private diary. You're sharing something so personal and so emotional, and it's just really hard to do. But then once you do, like, the responses every time just blow me away. Like, people are so kind. People saying that they could relate to what I was saying, that I'd put like their feelings into words, that they could share my posts with friends and family and explain to them how they were feeling, and in turn get support they needed, or just like so many people. And the most amazing thing for me is that by sharing these posts, I've had people come forward who've said, I read your post 5 years ago and I hadn't lost a baby, but your words like stayed in my head. And then 3 years later, they've sadly gone on to lose a baby. But because of those posts, they've known to do certain things, like the regrets I've had that we didn't do, and perhaps they've then gone on to do, or they've known about the charities to contact. And I just think that's amazing, like that Joseph, and by sharing Joseph's story, that we can do that.
Uh, you know, I initially, was writing everything what happened with Lori and I, and it was, that was really all I wrote about. And then oh my gosh, going back and reading some of my old stuff, I can just tell you that my best friend, even though it was a very unwanted best friend, but going back and reading that, oh, denial. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just could not believe how much in denial I was. I was clueless. I really was just like I think I read my early writings and I think who that guy's an ostrich. He's got his head so far in the dirt. Um it's incredible. But you had to get it out. You still write it out and you still hope, you hope that it helps somebody. Um
Yeah.
and I think your blog has definitely helped probably thousands of women. Think about it. I mean, all the years that you've had it and you started sharing it, probably even safe to say tens of thousands of women. I mean, based on your traffic. But it doesn't define you, Laura. That's the thing. I mean, it doesn't define you. Your family is so fun to watch, and it's so loved. And I was telling the folks too about your amazing husband. Um, I love Gaz. Gaz, I mean, he's gonna hear this, and so I'm gonna tell him right off, Gaz, you're the shit, man. You are aces in my. I can't think of a more lovely pair. Um, one of the most lovely married couples than you guys. Um, how did you guys meet?
So, I said before, me and Gaz actually went to the same high school.
Mhm.
I don't know how much people will know. I was married previously. I got married at 23 to my first husband. We had Lewis and Joseph, and then when we divorced, Lewis was 4, and I was single for, a year, 18 months, 2 years it was. I knew Gaz from school. I knew him from like our social circles mix. We had similar friends. And as you do when you're single, you start going out a bit more. I was only 29 at the time. So, Saturday night would come round and I'd be off around the pubs, and Gaz would be there. And yeah, we just kind of got chatting again. And I always tell people that he saw his moment and he swooped in. Finally noticed I was single and took his chance. And he asked me on a date, and that was kind of it.
I'm trying to imagine you in my mind's eye in a pub.
Oh, yeah. So I was always really drunk, because I'm drunk off like one glass of wine. So every time I would see him, I would be really drunk, and he'd be like, "Oh, here she is again." Um, but yeah, after like a few weeks of us kind of bumping into each other, he was like, "Should we go on a date?" And there we go. Like within, I think by our first date, we were kind of like, "This is pretty serious," because we already knew each other. We'd skipped like the whole getting to know each other stage because that bypasses a lot of time. And within 6 months, he'd moved in. We were engaged a month later. And then I was pregnant with Eva a few months after that.
Oh, that's yeah. And you guys been married how long now? How many years?
We have been married 9 years. So Eva was 12 weeks old when we got married. By our first wedding anniversary, I'd had Megan. By our second wedding anniversary, I'd had Harry. So it was like a crazy busy 3 years. It's our 10th wedding anniversary in May. So I'm hoping we'll do something exciting for that.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Where do you guys want to go for your 10th? Do you guys have any plans?
Um, just somewhere we can relax. And yeah, I don't know, because Lewis is 18 in April, so that's going to be like a big one. I think we're going to go back to New York if America are letting us in. um it's all up in the air with COVID and everything, but if we can, then that's where we want to go.
Now, you and your family, you actually experienced COVID, right?
Yeah, and we're still like dealing with the repercussions of it, to be honest. You can probably hear my throat's still not great. We got it 3 weeks ago now. All of us got it within the space of 2 or 3 days. And it was hideous. I know, like, people say you have the vaccinations and you'll be all right, and obviously we were, but it was hideous in the process.
Just think about if you didn't have the vaccination.
I know that's what we just said the whole time. I was in bed for a week. I was so unwell, and I just thought, if I hadn't have had the vaccination, I feel like I would have probably been hospitalized, because I was really poorly even with it. It's just not worth the risk, is it?
No. But of course, we got our dumbass Americans over here that are insistent that they can, run around without the mask, run around without the vaccinations, and they're it's embarrassing. I'll be
Yeah,
honest
we've
with
got
you.
the same. Yeah, we've got people.
I've never been more embarrassed to be an American than now. It's so
Yeah,
embarrassing. We put somebody like Trump in office, and then we did this, and then we're doing this, and it's just embarrassing. The term "ugly American" has never been more defined than right now.
yeah.
Um,
We're not doing
hats
much
off,
better
hats
though.
off to you for what. I mean, hats off to you for wanting to come to New York. Though New York is a great city. New York
Yeah,
is a lot of fun.
we were there 2 years ago, just as in the January before the pandemic kicked in. We went. I was 40, so we went, and Lewis was 16, and we just loved it. There's nothing like that over here. Like, it's unbelievable to us. We were just like, wow, everything's so big, and it was just like, just seeing like the yellow cabs and Broadway, and it was just amazing. It was like we'd walked into a movie set. And for Lewis, like, he was 16 then, he's 18 now. It's just amazing, isn't it, at that age?
It's called the city that never sleeps. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's always busy. I mean, even if it doesn't, like, the main sections of New York is quiet, there's always something going on. some entertainment somewhere somehow
That's
with
what we
somebody.
couldn't get over it because, like, round here now, if I went for a walk, I wouldn't see a single soul. Everyone just it's dark, you don't go out. Whereas when we were in New York, we could be walking the streets at midnight, and it would be like the busiest place you've ever seen. There's just people everywhere and people singing and dancing and like street acts and just like food everywhere. We just couldn't get over it.
Yeah. What's been your favorite place that you've been to so far in your world travels?
Um, I mean, I would. New York was like a highlight, I think, because it's somewhere like we've always dreamt of going, and we did everything. We went up the Empire States, went to Statue of Liberty, we watched a show, we like just did all of the touristy stuff, which went to Times Square, and I don't know, it was amazing. But if I had to choose a place that wasn't that, I would say Romania.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is I think it, especially for us, like in Europe, it's not somewhere that people tend to go. It's actually got quite a bad reputation in the UK. Um, it's not like a touristy place. People don't go on holiday there. And yet I did a 2 week tour with work 3 4 years ago. 3 years ago it was. And we toured the whole of Romania for 2 weeks in a big international group. And it was just like my favorite place ever.
It's beautiful country. I interviewed an actress who grew up in Romania, and she was saying how she loved it. I mean, it's beautiful
It's
there.
stunning, yeah, and the people are just so lovely, like, they're just so lovely. Everyone is so friendly, and, um, everywhere you look is just like they have the most beautiful castles and countryside and all, like, the architecture, it's unbelievable, it really is.
Now, was this a trip that actually see you get actually get paid to go to these places, right? I mean, you get. That's the thing about Laura is that she is, like I said, I wasn't kidding. She's an influencer. She gets, people, companies want her to tell their story. So they ask you to do it. They send you stuff. They pay for your stuff. You are. I know you don't like the term, but it is the term. It is. I can't think of a different term, but an influencer. But you do help people. Like, maybe they wouldn't have thought about Romania, but then they read your blog, and now next thing you know, they're packing a trip and they're going because of your words. Um,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that? I mean, how does that make you feel knowing that there's people out there that are following your words or your advice or your opinion?
I feel like it's a huge responsibility in
Mm.
terms of, I would never want a family like mine who works really hard and, you've got kids and money doesn't just grow on trees. I don't want anyone to ever go somewhere and, spend a significant amount of money and not enjoy it based on a fake review that someone has wrote or, trying to sell something to someone that they don't really believe in. So I am always 100% honest. If we've been somewhere and had a bad experience, I will share it. If I think something wasn't worth the money, I will say so. Um, I mean, we are very lucky that a lot of the places that we go or the brands we work with, I've reached a point which is a luxury to be able to pick and choose and kind of go, that doesn't really fit with our family, so I'll pass. But I know when you're kind of first starting out, a lot of people will just if it's money, they're going to take it and they'll say whatever anyone wants to hear. Um, but my conscience is I would have to really believe that it was worth going there or it was worth buying. The
Yeah, I think the key word what you mentioned there is responsibility.
Yeah,
Because it's funny, even on a much, 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 much smaller scale. Whenever I do film reviews, and that's one of the things that I look for when I write a review is the question I ask myself is, the movie that I'm talking about is, would I buy it?
yeah.
Would I personally buy this movie? And if I would, then yes, I'll say it and I'll give the movie the right review. If I wouldn't pay for it, I'm not going to tell you to do it. I'm
No,
not going to
exactly, yeah.
because I got a free copy. Um, or I got, like, here's a copy, or could you write something good? I've told everybody that I ever worked with that I won't give you a good review. I won't give you a bad review. I'll give you an honest review.
Yeah,
Wherever it falls, it
that's
falls.
important, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. It's yeah, it is. It's a big responsibility. You're right. Because a lot of people do follow what you say, and more. I mean, what for a typical month? What's your traffic like? How
On my
many hits?
blog,
Just a random month. What's your
so on my blog, probably like 80,000. On my Instagram, it's about 1.5 million reach. So
see?
it's
That's
quite a lot
yeah.
of people like that you feel a responsibility for.
That's a tremendous, yeah. I mean, like I said, you're definitely one of the top bloggers in Britain now. I don't know that many others with your reach or your influence. You help a lot of people. Plus you share your other side, which is really important because like I read a lot of bloggers and they don't have personal touch. They have zero
Yeah.
personal touch. They're not writing about themselves. They never have. Um, I sort of went back on that because I just felt like, I mean, I just didn't feel anybody wanted to read that. Yeah, today sucked because my wife's gone. You can only write that so many times before you yourself don't want to see it, and so you want to write something else. Um, but to stay personal, we want to stay personal on some level. I don't know if I managed to do that. I know you have because I read your blog. How hard is it to maintain a personal touch after so long?
Um, I completely relate to what you said in terms of, if you're just sharing every day, my life sucks right now. Um, you do start to think, don't you, like, oh, are people going to get sick of hearing this? And they shouldn't, because you're being honest, and that is the nature of grief. But I also felt that way, and I also felt that if I continued down the path of talking about baby loss and nothing else, and talking about losing Joseph and how awful it was without him, that I was never going to move on. And although, as you know, you don't kind of get over it, you do have to continue to live, or else you're just existing and there's no point. And so for us, I kind of made that switch in my head that I was going to embrace the fact that we was making a living by being at home with our kids, which is, a huge luxury when you've got 4 kids. And the fact I can be here for them every day, take them to school, do everything I need to do. So I had to kind of go down the route of working with brands, and I do that side of thing. But I also really wanted to keep the personal touch, as you say. So I made like a conscious effort to kind of move to more like life after loss. So we talk about baby loss. I try and show that there is a life after it. I share a lot about kind of the adventures and the fun we have with our kids, because I think, for me, thinking like 15 years ago when we lost Joseph and I was looking for inspiration for the future, I needed to read that it was going to be okay. And I needed someone to kind of go, look, I went through this. It was awful. It was rough for a long time, but look how happy I am. I've had kids. I've got a family. You can kind of honor the child you lost and still live a really happy life. And I think that is what I hope. I mean, I hope that I managed to do that.
You do that. Yeah, do that very well. Your kids are a star of the blog too. I mean, they must have so much fun. And what do they think about you? Being a blogger. I mean, is it this is what mom does for a living? She writes about what you think about products, or are you putting on or open up an advent calendar?
Yeah.
Gosh,
Um,
our advent entries the most we've ever seen. Every time Christmas, like I used to dread Christmas in the group because, oh my God, I could not believe how many people were writing about advents.
yeah, it starts early as well, like October. Um, you're sick of Christmas by the time it comes because, you know, everyone wants to get their product out early, don't they? And I reached like October and I'm still thinking Halloween, and then next thing it's Christmas, and soon we'll be talking about Easter.
Oh, well, it's funny over here. They start talking about Halloween in August.
Wow. It's a
Yeah.
big deal over there though, isn't it? It's not that big of a deal here.
Yeah, it's pretty big here. I mean, it's October is like crazy big here. Everybody wants to talk about horror movies and whatnot, and they all want to talk about the weird stuff they collect or whatnot. Um, we didn't have any trick or treaters last year. This year we just had a handful. I mean, it was literally just a handful. Normally we have between 120 to 150 kids,
Wow.
right? But they, like I said, nothing last year, and maybe like I think I only saw like 4 or 5 groups out there, so maybe like 25 kids this year. People are, it's funny. It's like for as many people that beat their chest to sit there and say, you know, I don't have to wear a mask. I don't have to be, look out for others. A lot of the majority of the people still do,
Yeah.
and that's comforting. Um, so what's your process like for as far as writing? Do you have a routine that you do? Do you have like do you write every day or do you write every other day? What's your schedule like?
Um, I am the most disorganized person you will ever meet. I hide
That's
it
why
quite
you and
well.
I get along so well.
Yeah. I I think when you've got like 4 kids and you just quickly learn that you can't really have a routine because like looking back, we had COVID for 2 weeks, then the kids went back to school, then Megan got hand, foot, and mouth, so she was off again. And then, like one of the kids will have this group after school. We've got swimming, we've got gymnastics, we've got art club. Every week is just different. So I would love to say that I have a very strict schedule and I sit down and write from 9 till 3 or um but no, some days I'm working, when the kids have gone to bed till 1, 2 in the morning. Other days I'm working 8 in the morning till 8 at night. It just differs. And I do think it's important to like have a schedule. I think just for my own like mental health, I should try and be stricter with my hours because in this job that is the biggest negative, that you don't switch off because your job is your life, as in you're sharing your life. It's really hard to switch off when everything you do is part of your job. um so I keep promising myself like next year I'm going to be stricter. I'm going to say that is it, after a certain time I'm not going to work, I'm going to close my laptop, I'm not going to work weekends. And it won't happen, it just won't happen, but I do try.
Right. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm with you about that. I mean, I find myself pretty much, working all day, and it's like, I don't really want to do that. I mean, I just, you're right. It's sort of unhealthy, not to
Yeah.
have a schedule. Mr. Bones mentions, he says that's okay. They don't even let Halloween be over before Christmas comes into the stores and brushes Halloween out early and runs right over Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's true. I'm already seeing. Um, yeah, that's true. We don't even hardly even celebrate Thanksgiving over here anymore. Most of the time, he's right. Most of the time, now it's all Christmas. We're already seeing stores talk about Black Friday over here.
Yeah,
Uh,
the we're starting with that. And then last night for us in the UK, it was bonfire night. So that's like a huge thing for the UK. So it was like Halloween. As soon as that's gone, it's straight into bonfire night. I mean, I can hear the fireworks going off now. They'll last all weekend. And then once this weekend's over, that it's just Christmas straight in. And by probably the first week in January, there'll be Easter eggs in the shops. Like that's how quickly
really?
they move on. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's something that we don't do here. We don't do Easter. I mean, until Easter gets here. But yeah, I mean, January's like pretty much quiet, and then the beginning of February we get Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then but yeah, oh no, we don't we don't celebrate Easter like that. Mostly it's mostly just Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas for us. You'll see Thanksgiving stuff up, but mostly Christmas. Um,
Are they all like the
a friend of mine
American?
already posted a picture up. A friend of mine posted her picture up of her Christmas tree. She put it up on November 1st.
Well, we normally put ours up on the 1st of December, but I do have to admit, we've been working with a few Christmas brands this week, so we've had to kind of, shoot some stuff. I was laughing thinking the neighbors are gonna think we've gone crazy because we had, like, a big reindeer in our front garden the other day. We had, like, all the lights up. But 1st of December, I think is you're allowed. 1st of December is fine.
Yeah. 1st of November, that was a little strange though. I'm just
Yeah,
sitting going,
really.
is that really that's a real Christmas tree? She actually put up a Christmas tree on November 1st.
But that's
But
not gonna last till Christmas. Like,
uh
the needles will drop, won't they?
I think it's a fake tree. I think she
Ah,
put up a fake tree. And but still, just the fact is like it's still it's fake. It's a fake tree, but it's still November 1st. It's like your tree is up on November 1st.
yeah,
That's a
it is.
mind blower.
I get sick of it. I just, by the time, like, by the time, like, end of December comes around, I'm kind of like, "Oh, just want the corner back." You've got the tree and you can't hoover around it. I'm just ready to get the corner back.
Right. Now, do you have a little office that you write in?
I do have an office. I never use it. Um,
Oh,
it's I think when we moved here, I was like, "Oh, I'll sit in the office and then I'll close the door at the end of the day and that'll be me." And instead I usually just sit on the couch. Um, I put my laptop on the arm of the couch so I can look out into the garden and I sit there. And then that's like it's good because it feels it's a nice place to work. But by like 10, 11 o'clock at night when I'm still sat there, I'm just that doesn't separate my work and living space. So I think having an office is great because you do get that like strict, right, I'm in work mode now, I'm in relaxing mode, but mine have overlapped a lot.
you don't do you work on the weekends? I mean, is your job basically 7 days a week?
It just depends, like, if I'm shooting something for a brand that the kids are involved in, well, I mean, my kids are at school every day in the week, and then they've got, like, activities at night, so our weekends like today, we had to shoot something, and it's always fun stuff. They did some crafts, which they loved, um, but again, I feel like I'm still in work mode then, um,
Um,
so
you want to enjoy it, but you see it as a little bit of a job because that's your job is to promote
yeah.
the brand.
But then
Um,
next weekend, we're going away for the weekend, all of us, and that is with work. But we're going to watch a pantomime with the kids there, and we're going swimming, and we go for a meal, and it's going to be so lovely. Um, there's a winter wonderland and things. But again, it is work. But I
yeah.
mean, that's the kind of work that I like to do because that is lovely, and we can still relax.
Now,
Um,
now sometimes you find yourself back at the room that you're sharing, and while the family's going out to go out, you're stuck there because you have to hit a deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I am quite lucky that when we do this kind of thing, they give me 2-ish weeks to then write the review. So I can kind of go somewhere. We went away for 7 weeks over summer. We went all over the UK, went to Croatia, um, and I didn't have to like produce that work till we got back. So that was really lucky because I could just switch off as much as possible, which isn't always completely possible. And then just went crazy in September trying to get everything done.
Um, yeah, what was the first time that you actually were approached by a company that you were approached by a company, or did you ask companies first, or did they come see you first?
No, that I'm kind of lazy in that I don't pitch to companies or um and I suppose I'm quite lucky in that I don't need to because in the UK, once you kind of start working with a PR, um, if you do a good job, they kind of keep you in mind for the next thing. So I've built up 7 years of relationships with a lot of really lovely PR companies who will bear me in mind, for the next thing that comes along. So I am really lucky like that. But I think the first thing, and me and Gaz often laugh about this because I think the first thing that I was approached for was like some biscuits or something, like some crackers. Um, and I remember us like going, "Oh my god, that these are free, and they're free. We're being sent them," and like we were so excited. And then did like about 5 hours work for these crackers that costs about £1. Um, so we always laugh looking back because I think that obviously did not work out cost effective for us to spend 5 hours reviewing a packet of crackers. Um, but we was, like, so excited thinking, "Oh, look, someone's approached us and wants us to share these." And luckily it has got better. We're able to earn
Yeah,
a living.
yeah.
We're not just sharing crackers.
No, no, you sell a lot of things, but you believe in them all too. So I don't necessarily think they're being sold as so much as they're recommended. You're not
Yeah,
you're not you're not pushing it. You're saying, hey, I recommend these. These are really good.
yeah.
Or this is a really fun place to take you and your family. It's affordable. This and that. Um, so uh, when I ask you a couple of questions because I wanted to know this. Um, Based on the group that we mentioned earlier. You ever run across jealousy?
Um, yeah. To be honest,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's natural in any job. I think there's always going to be people who don't like to see other people do well or feel, why did I not get to do that? Why did I not get to work with them? Um, and it did used to really bother me because I take things very personally. I like to, I'm a bit of a people pleaser, which is not one of my best qualities. I don't like confrontation. I just don't like ill feeling. So when I first started out, I would be in a lot of blogging groups. I had like blogging friends. We go to events, and it was all very superficial when you look back. And I
yeah,
think as time's gone on, a lot of those people no longer blog, or they haven't done as well as maybe they hoped they would. And instead of just being like really supportive and saying, "I'm so glad this has worked out for you. I'm really proud of you. You've done really well, and I've worked really hard."
yes,
Um,
you have.
Instead, it's kind of like, "Oh, look how you've got this now." And I don't know, it's very negative, and I really made an effort to like remove myself from the blogging circle because of that, because there's not many people who will like champion you in this like blogging world. Um, it feels a lot like everyone's out for themselves, or they'll trample all over you to get to the top. And um, we just focus on ourselves. I know who I can trust. I have people that um, if I needed advice or anything, I know I could go to, yourself included. But um,
Thank you.
yeah, jealousy is just, it's rife in every job, isn't it? But it's not nice.
No, I was just wondering because yeah, I could see it. Because and you're right about this the superficiality. It's
Yeah,
can I ask you a question? I mean, let me ask you this question: how many times have you been interviewed by another blogger?
I think this
Yeah,
might be the first.
isn't that something? Isn't that
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
I had a feeling about that, Laura. I had a feeling when I asked the question that you had never been interviewed before. And I'm just thinking of all those bloggers that you and I both know, no names. Um, I'm just thinking to myself, you're a natural. Why wouldn't you want to go pick your brain?
yeah.
Especially bloggers that were based in, since it was a UK group, they're based in the UK. Why not go ask? How well, could you take a look at my blog? Could you give me a couple of pointers? This and that.
And
Could
you
you?
know what? I am all for like helping other people. I get people messaging me quite often. How did you do this? How did you start out? And I will spend a lot of time. I'll dedicate, a lot of time helping people. I'll steer them in the right direction. I'll give them advice that I've learned on the way. And I would say 9 out of 10 of those people I'll never hear from again. You
Yeah.
know, that's how it is. And I know it, and yet I still dedicate a lot of time to help them, but I'll never hear from them again. It's
Um. Let's see. Jennifer, our friend Jennifer, says, "Who would be jealous of such a sweet lady?" Um. you'd be surprised how competitive the blogging world is.
Yeah. And you know
Yeah,
what? Jealousy, it isn't just in the blogging world. Like we have found, I think, in our real lives, our everyday lives, like our job is really misconstrued. So I think even some of our best friends have kind of think that we just get paid to not really do that much, that we just get free stuff sent every day, and that we're just kind of lazing around with all of our free
really.
stuff and our money. And I think that is genuinely like how people perceive it. Um, and I will speak to other people and they say it's just jealousy. Like, who wouldn't want to have a job where they can work from home, they can set their own hours, they can travel, they can be with their kids. And I think I would never say, "Oh, look, someone's so jealous of us," because I feel like that is an arrogant thing to say. But
Right.
it is jealousy because I mean, I'd be jealous too. But if that was my friend, I'd be going, "I'm so jealous. Like, I really wish I could do this."
Well,
In a
and the thing
positive
and
way,
the thing is, you look, yeah, and the thing is, you look at them and say, well, why don't you?
and I say,
Or
"Yeah, yeah."
yeah,
I'll say
mm,
to anyone, I'll say, "You can start a blog, it's totally free, you don't have to have, like, a big outlay to start it, I can give you pointers, but also you need to put the work in." Like, a lot of our friends will work 9 to 5, they'll come home, they'll switch off. As I said before, I'm working 70 hours some weeks, I'm constantly just on the go, and it has took so much hard work, um, and I think most people just don't see that. So
no. I see. I mean, I mean, some bloggers. I mean, you could definitely see the work. I mean, some people put in the work. Sarah Bailey, uh, is definitely one of them. Rebecca Smith is another one of them. There's several others that I do admire quite a bit. Like I said, I haven't been on the group for very much. That's probably the only group I'm ever really active in, as far as actually going in there. And but like I said, a lot of times I feel like, I could tell a sincere comment, someone who's actually cares about what I write versus one that's just there because they have to be there, and they don't want to get called out for not doing it. That
yeah,
like you know, and I appreciate the ones that take the time to write a comment. I do. I really do. And it is hard work. I mean, I slipped over from, I'm still blogging somewhat. I'm getting back into it again, but I started this YouTube channel because it's something new. I can tell you it is hard as hell to grow a channel. It
yeah,
is
YouTube
for
is
someone like
very
myself. I'm not, I don't have gimmicks. I don't have, I'm not doing things silly. I'm not doing stunts or anything else like that. It is hard as hell, and you do work. It takes a lot of work to get to where you're at. Um, so it's not easy. I'm a little surprised though, hearing from your village. I would think that they would be rather entertained at the fact that you're doing so well.
there's like it's the same with anything. I think as you go through life and the older you get, you kind of realize who your friends are, and we always say like we're really lucky. We've got supportive families, we've got supportive friends, and the ones who support us are people that I will always hold close. If you're my friend, you're my friend. So we have got friends who are so supportive, and they'll constantly say, "We're so proud of you. You've done so well." My mum and dad never stop telling me how proud they are of us. Um, and then you've got the other people who are kind of you see the true colours, don't you? Like
Yeah.
when they're making like slight comments or
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes you'll see somebody slide in, like for YouTube. The one thing you look for is when people come in, they give you thumbs down. A lot
yeah.
of times, it's malicious.
It's so
They're trying.
spiteful, like, it really is.
Yeah, you sit there and say, you sit there and say, yeah, well, it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't bother me, because it means they came by, they cared enough to leave a thumb down. So they must have cared about that was in their head sometime, you know.
And they watched it, so
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
if I must have gotten in your head somewhere for you to go ahead and put a thumbs down. Um,
yeah.
but 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 to me, it's like I like the fact that you do give. You mean you're one of the most supportive people. You were definitely one of the most supportive, and that it definitely came through. And it's one of the things that I really admired about you and respected uh, about you. Um, and I just think, like I said, I think you and Gaz make such a dynamic team, and he takes all your pictures, doesn't he?
He does now, yeah. So when we first got together, he was a web graphic designer. He worked for a company, he went out to work 9 to 5. And he did that till the kids were, I think, like all through when the kids were babies, he still kept that job. And I was kind of doing all of it. Well, obviously looking after the kids, but then doing the blog and doing the photography and kind of trying to juggle everything. And it reached a point where I was like, this is getting quite big now. It's becoming a career. So he was having to take on part of that. So he went part-time. And we just made the decision that he was going to leave his job. And that was a huge decision, because going two people self-employed with 4 kids, not knowing, if we would pay the bills each month, or what happens if it all went wrong and he's not on a payroll anymore. So, and we that decision probably took us about a year to make. And when we finally did it, we was like, we should have just done this, a year ago, because it's just gone from strength to strength since then, because we can both work together. We can do more work because there's 2 of us, and we can juggle the kids. Yeah, it's just worked out now. Works out really well, but it just means we're together all the time.
Um, let's see. Roy and Becky mentioned the movie industry never let Cisco and Ebert's thumbs down bother them either, and that's true. I mean, I never really been bothered by anybody's negative comment. Like there's another channel out here, Delilah LaFay, and she's a lovely lady too. She has a goth channel, and every time she does a video, at the end of it, she says, please leave a thumbs up, or if you feel like if you needed to put a thumbs down, please leave me some constructive criticism so I can improve. And I always think that's really sweet, because it's like, that way, if a person doesn't like your content, maybe you didn't like the way it presented it, or lighting or whatever. But if you sat there and said, I really couldn't hear you very well, or I couldn't hear you, I couldn't see the clothes you were showing or the products you were closing, then you can improve your writing, or you
Right,
improve your
yeah.
presentation. And that's a big difference than someone just coming over and being an asshole and hitting the thumbs down just because they can.
I think most people, though, who do leave a thumbs down, they're just doing it to be spiteful. There's probably nothing wrong, because if you don't like a video, I don't know about you, but I just either wouldn't watch it because it doesn't interest me, or I just scroll on. I just keep scrolling. You don't need to put a thumbs down, because what suits me might, like, someone else might prefer. I just find it really spiteful to do. There's people who just take pleasure in that, isn't there?
Yeah. Um, Let me ask you a question. Now I'm going to ask for a pointer right here on the air in this middle of this interview. I am going to ask a pointer because I need some help. What's the best way to promote your blog or yourself? Because I'd like to promote myself better, and I just don't seem to. I don't seem to be able to. I promote myself, but I don't really seem to be gaining that much traction. And not that I expect to be overnight, like 100,000, but I at least like to get at least to like a, like something. I like to
Yeah.
get. I like to get my, like, like I promoted this show on Facebook. I promoted it on, and the thing to be this small, because how fast people move these days. Yeah,
Yeah.
You can't promote like 2 weeks out. You know, people forget.
So, see, so for me, I think promoting my blog on social media has been a huge help. I'd say Instagram is my biggest contributor in that way. It used to be Facebook probably, but I feel like there's been a shift in that more people tend to use Instagram. I don't know if you found that. Twitter, I'm not great with Twitter. I kind of remember to use it every now and then don't use it for 6 months.
Yeah,
But I think the problem now with like blogs is people aren't actively searching them out the way that they used to. You know, a few years ago, I think blogs were everything. Um,
Mm.
that seemed to be kind of what people were interested in, and there's just been this shift now more to social media. Things like TikTok are becoming like huge. I don't do TikTok because I'm
No,
41 years old, and I feel like
I,
I'll leave
I
that
don't.
to the kids.
I, I don't use it because it's too self-centered. It's the same. Has the same problem that Twitter does. It's like
Yeah,
it's all about them. It's all about me. They won't look at what you're offering. If people aren't looking at what I'm doing, then I'm not bothering with anybody else.
yeah,
And that's the reason why I don't use TikTok or it's just or Twitter because it's I use Twitter for my other blog, and then you go there and you see your traffic where it's coming from. Man, I never got anything from Twitter. Never.
no, I very rarely do, to be honest. And I think the only other thing is just to like make sure your SEO is on top form. And that is probably my biggest regret when I started my blog, that I didn't do none of my posts from, gosh, for the first 5 years or so, I didn't concentrate on SEO at all. I didn't really understand it. I didn't really feel I wrote the way that Google wanted me to write. Um, but since I started taking a bit more time to do that and really like making sure a lot of my posts are properly done, the Google traffic has really increased.
Uh, wow, our chat just blew up. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming on in. Our friend Seth mentions, hi Becky and Roy. Becky and Roy say Twitter is like a total different language. No kidding. Our friend Seth, hellbound. I honestly hate social media. I still have a flip phone, so I'm committed to avoiding it. Let's see if anybody else came up there and mentioned anything. Oh, yeah, it'll come. Patience, it'll come. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little traction. I don't know when this happened. See, I downloaded Instagram to my desktop like over years ago. And I don't know what happened or how it happened, but it wouldn't let me post anything.
Oh.
I had to post off my phone when I got a phone. Now
Oh,
without
you can't
warning,
post on Instagram via you can only post on Instagram via your phone.
yeah, well, all of a sudden, lo and behold, it's letting me post off my desktop.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, that's why I got most of if you go back there, even just a few pictures, you'll see I was taking a picture of the picture I used for this interview. Now I can use the picture and it comes out so much better. So now that I can do that, now I can go back to all my old interviews and recycle them through Instagram because I wasn't able to do that before.
Yeah.
So you think Instagram is probably the best platform to promote?
Yeah, and
Good.
also it used to be that you needed 10,000 followers to get the swipe up, in the stories. They've changed that over the last couple of weeks. So now anyone can have that. So you can put a link in any story to any blog posts, and people can just click. And so you can go back through all of your blog posts. You could do it all day long if you like, and link to all your posts for people to click on.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to explore that because I'm gonna because I've been thinking about this that I need to um, recycle what I've written before because that's one of the things, and that's one of the things I was trying to do. I find this really funny too, Laura. I don't know if you ran across this or not, but we promote our blogs, like you said, we promote it on Facebook or whatnot. We go inside the groups and we promote our blog and whatnot. So I was actually doing that for my blog, and then Facebook said that my because I was spamming, they blocked my
Right.
they blocked me, so I couldn't promote my blog anymore. I got around it, but I find it funny as hell that I was promoting my blog within groups, and now all of a sudden Facebook's now saying, "Well, we're very group friendly. We want you to post in groups. We want you to make groups and stuff like that." And it's like, well,
Then
you
they'll
burned. Yeah.
block you.
What about all the people you burned? So what do you got coming up next? Do you got how far in advance do you actually do your writing? Like you mentioned, you're doing some Christmas stuff now. So how far in advance are you out?
Well, this week we've just started on Christmas stuff, so we're not like majorly ahead. I'll definitely still be writing Christmas stuff in December, last minute, as always. Um, but I'm always looking forward in terms of where this is going to go, how long is it going to last? Because you can't assume this is going to last forever. Um, I'd like to think I'll still be doing this job in 10 years time, but you just don't know. So I'm always thinking, where can we take it? What direction can we go in? How we can spin off in other ways. Gaz is actually, this is an exclusive for you. Gaz is actually starting a blog. He has just like registered it all. He's going to start creating content on that. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, get that live.
Okay.
Oh.
Have you guys done a YouTube channel yet?
I've got YouTube. I've probably got about 4 or 5 videos on there. I don't. It's one of it's the thing with this is like, how can you do everything? There's not enough hours in the day, is there? So
Yeah.
I always like to think that the time will come when I'll focus on YouTube, but at the minute, I just don't have time.
Yeah, you don't want, don't break what's not broken. I mean,
Exactly, and I
as
would
long
like
as
to do more, but
well, I mean, now you got an interview video out.
exactly, I can share this. I've not posted
Uh,
a video for so long.
do people want to collaborate with you? I
Other
mean,
bloggers, you mean?
like normal people. I mean, not brands, but just regular people. Do they ever come up there and say, "Let's do a collaboration. Let's do something together"?
No, not really, to be honest. Um, More like people who have small businesses and, like other mums who are trying to get their business out there. But this is what we talked about earlier, that not many people are willing to kind of help you to expand, your exposure in any way. It always feels very like you do something for me and I'll do something for you. Do you know what I mean? There's very few people in this circle who are willing to kind of go, "Hey, let's do this." Like, obviously yourself is the first one that I've come across.
Wow, that's amazing. That is really crazy. Because
Yeah,
I'm thinking of all the girls in that group, Laura. I'm thinking of all those people, all those bloggers there. I'm thinking because I saw a lot of people like collaborating on my blog, on my blog. I saw other blogs collaborate,
yeah.
in my circle. But I thought that was a common thing. I thought, does that still happen? Do you still people still want to say let's cover this topic together?
Yeah, I mean, I see it very rarely, and it feels like there is a lot of very small cliques in this, and you'll have come across it the same. So you get the same people kind of working together, and they may like to appear as though they're the best of friends and, they're helping each other, but it's all about who can do what for you,
Mm,
and it's I'm just not interested in it.
no.
I'm all about, you know, I try and help other people. I want genuine friendships. That I have got friends who are bloggers who I met 7 years ago, and I can count them on one hand, who I hold close and really trust. Um, but yeah, it's just it's the way it is.
Yeah.
I think when you realize that, life gets a lot easier, because when you're sucked into it and you're kind of unaware of what's going on, that's when it becomes difficult.
I want to talk about one last topic with you if we can. Um, I don't want to take up too much of your time because you are a busy person. Um, so talk to us a little bit about how do brands approach you? I mean, how do how did they come to you? I mean, how do they find you? Do they find you through the blog, and you know how does that work?
Yeah, so I don't know about in America, but in the UK there's different ways. So one of the ways is there's a UK blogger chart. So every month they they take into account your traffic, your social following, your interaction, and then you can opt into this, and then they'll list you in the chart. So then a lot of brands will then look at that chart and go, right, we want to contact number one or the top 100, or, and then they'll approach you in that way. Um, so that's one way that I think, like, the last this is a proper humble brag here, but the last few months I've been #1 on that chart. So
Yeah.
I've had like a real influx of work from it, which has been lovely. But other ways is Instagram, using the hashtag, like for us, that would be like UK parent blogger, UK family travel blogger. So using the hashtags is a big one. Adding location is another that I find. So on my images on Instagram, I'll add my location. So brands who want to work with someone like me who lives in Lancashire will click on that location and find me that way. Hashtags again is just a big one for a lot of things. I know people will use like PR request or collaboration, those kind of hashtags, so people can find them. And to be honest, a lot of the time I do kind of go, how have these people found me? Like, they'll email me and I'll go, how have they found me? But they have, and I'm just really grateful that they do.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too. Um, does anybody inside here on the chat have any questions for Laura? Um, if you want to help, I mean, because with her tips about promoting her blog is the same thing as promoting our YouTube channel. A lot of the same tricks and trades to use. So if you have some questions or have any questions about writing or anything else, please drop a question in the chat. I am
Are
a
you
little.
enjoying YouTube then?
I've been on YouTube for a year and a half. Well, it's July 2020. I came on YouTube. So
You're enjoying it?
uh, I enjoy this. This right
Yeah.
here. Once my friend Hobbs got me. Once he got me doing lives, and we started a Sunday night show called the Midnight Hour, and then I just thought, you know what? I booked some guests on the show. I said, why can't we have some guests on here? So I started booking some guests. And then I realized that, I could do this whole series right here. Because, I started this on my other blog, 8 Questions With. You were one of the
Yeah.
ones who, and, and I said, why can't I just transfer that format to here? And, so I have, and it's slowly gaining traction. I mean, I'm slowly building it, but still, I mean, I see other ones, I see other channels, and they got triple the numbers I got.
Yeah.
I got,
It is
I got.
hard, like
It's just like it's frustrating because it's like I know some of them have bigger channels than me, but not everybody's not. Let's put it this way: I look at it, I go like, well, there's a guy here who has 650 subscribers. He did an interview. Yeah, he's drawing 300 people to his videos. I'm doing an interview here, same thing. I'm only at 400, but I should at least within shouting range of that. And yet I struggled. I'm struggling to get this up off the ground. That's what it's like. I mean, it's getting better, but I'm not looking for, like I said, I'm not looking for overnight. But I do think it should be more than what it is now. I do think so. I mean, the
yeah.
guests matter.
I think it is so hard. And although everyone says like, oh, you shouldn't compare, everyone does their own thing, you do compare because,
Yeah,
if you're putting a lot of work in and you're trying really hard and you're doing the same as other people are doing, you're kind of like, why are my numbers not going up? So it is frustrating. Like, I think YouTube, from everyone I've spoke to, YouTube is the hardest to grow.
it is. It really is. You just think when you think you do got some traction going, and then the glitches will come by, you'll lose subs and whatnot, and it's just you don't every day you wake up, you don't see any growth at all. It's like it could be
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 days before you see anybody's subscribing to you, and it's frustrating because Instagram every day, you know,
Yeah.
every day. I mean, I'm noticing my Instagram is that's actually growing faster than this.
But
Lately,
you could start sharing your videos on Instagram as IGTV.
yeah, I'm going to start be doing all that because
Yeah.
I still got to master Instagram. I still got
Because
to
I
master it.
know when Facebook took over Instagram, Facebook made this decision that they was going to take over Instagram and that they were going to promote Reels, which are the 30 to 60-second videos you can share. And so they the algorithm completely changed. So grid posts and everything else, everyone noticed a real slump in their reach, but reels just go crazy. I know, like when I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, it's just one reel after another, and that
Mhm.
Instagram is really like pushing those now because they're trying to get rid of TikTok. That's the whole thing.
But they're
So
not going to.
no, they're never gonna do that. But
TikTok
so
is
if you can do videos on Instagram, like I tend not to because I prefer photos, but that is where the growth will come from the videos.
Yeah, now that I found out that I actually do things on Instagram that I couldn't do before off my desktop, yeah, I had to go back there and redo that.
Yeah.
So, let's see if anybody asks any questions. Oh, she asked you a question. Do you ever get embarrassed about talking about yourself?
Do you know what? Like, if you'd have asked me this 7 years ago when I started my blog, I've always been very shy. I've always been quite private, but I will gladly talk about, the things that are important to me. Um, but I still feel awkward talking about myself. If I have to self-promote, I find that really cringe and awkward. But it shouldn't be because, I'm doing a job that I'm really good at. And it's a very British thing. It's a typical British thing to kind of play down any success you have to kind of, just be like, oh, I'm doing all right. So maybe that is more of a British thing and my personality, but
Well,
I am getting better at it.
no, you're absolutely right. It's not a British thing. In fact, my moderator, Mr. Bones there, he got on me pretty good. He says, because I did an interview. I got invited. Actually, I got interviewed by a gentleman in the UK, and
Wow.
I put out a blurb for it. Like, hey, but I didn't put down anything else. And then he comes on, and I could tell there was some heat in his voice. He says, "How come you're not telling us when you're going on? How come you're not doing anything? Telling us when you went on?" And he was right. He was 100% right. It's like, but you're not used to self-promoting. To me, it's all about the guest. To promote the show is to promote you. This is not about me. It's about you. And the chat. But when it
Yeah.
comes down to actually doing it yourself, like talking about yourself, ugh,
I
ugh.
think if it's not in like your nature to be that kind of person, it takes a lot of time. And even now I find I'll go to an event or I've done things that have been on like TV in the UK. And for like all my friends who know me really well are like, Laura, as if you're doing this, like knowing what I'm like, they're like, how are you doing it? I think it's like you have to kind of almost go into a role of like that's what I'll do. I go to an event and I'll be in this role of being like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I'm super confident, and really, I don't know what I'm doing most of the time.
Uh, Bones is sitting there saying, he keeps saying that I didn't get into you. Oh, I know you weren't angry. Oh, I know that, but your point was made. You made a really good point, Bones. And yeah, I took it to heart, brother. No, no, you were absolutely 100% right. Um, got to do better. You got to do better. Uh, uh,
You should be picking yourself up because you are an amazing blogger. And not just that, you are a lovely person. And I think there's not many people like you in this whole crazy blogging world. So you should be picking
it-
yourself up more.
yeah, it's just when you're not used to it. When you're just not used to it, and you're not. It's a weird dynamic. It's a weird
Yeah.
dynamic. Um, I do want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everybody for the chat. I will let you go now because I do realize that it is Saturday night and you have your family there. And bonfire. Now, I never heard of bonfire night.
Oh, have
That
you not?
I had never heard of that.
Wow, so
Um,
it's to do with, have you read what it's about?
no.
I mean, I'm not very good with history, but basically years and years ago, a man called Guy Fawkes plotted to blow up the Houses of
Right.
Parliament in the UK with gunpowder. And
Oh, right.
so the
That I know.
tradition, and I don't really know the full story, but basically the tradition then is that you build a bonfire on the 5th of November and you put Guy Fawkes on the top, which is like, you'll make an effigy of a man and burn him on the bonfire, which is
Right.
crazy. And then we'll have fireworks, and we'll have things like toffee apples and treacle toffee and mulled wine and things. And it's become just a very British tradition for the 5th of November. So
Yeah,
that was
remember.
last night, but it drags on all weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
remember the 5th of November.
exactly. Yeah.
V for Vendetta. Uh, Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones, I don't think anybody sees you as being mean, brother. No, not at all. He's a lovely soul, actually. And everybody in our chat, I really appreciate them coming out for this interview. Normally I just do it Tuesday. Normally I do it during the week, but I was so glad you were able to do it today.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been lovely.
yeah. Well, that'll be it for me. That'll be it for our guest. Thank you very much in the chat for your support. I appreciate it so much. We will be back tomorrow night here on the channel for the midnight hour at 10 o'clock. We're doing comedy night. We're talking about our favorite comedy movies and comics. And then I will be back here Tuesday at 8 o'clock with actress Polly Shannon. And she'll be here and talking about her career. And she's a lovely lady too. And yeah, that's it. And just stay right where you're at, Laura, and I'll talk to you. And then for everybody else, until the next one, peace. I'm sort of bummed out that Cheetah didn't come by, though. Hold on
Oh,
one second.
me too.